This program is not affiliated with any political party or organization, and these are my own views, comments, and analysis. Today I want to talk about the biggest lie of the 21st century and modern American history. The lie about huge conspiracy, so-called huge conspiracy, and the death of the US President John Kennedy. On November 22, 1964, John Kennedy was assassinated at 12:30 p.m. in Dealey Plaza, Dallas, Texas. He was killed by a professional sniper, Lee Harvey Oswald. What's conspiracy? It's when you ask the government a simple question and nobody wants to answer. And if you ask the wrong question, you get the wrong answer. Let's ask some good questions. First, what would have happened if the sniper missed the target and Kennedy survived, being just merely wounded? You know, sniper is a human being. He makes mistakes. Answer: Kennedy would have won the 1964 presidential election, and then his brothers, Robert and Edward, would keep the White House until 1984. No war in Vietnam. The CIA would have been shut down. The FBI and Pentagon would have been cleaned up and cleaned out. Second, why would CIA, FBI, and big business behind them, not to mention Vice President Lyndon Johnson and Texas Oilers behind him, take such a huge risk? Kennedy could survive, right? Answer: there was no risk at all, and there was no huge conspiracy. There were no witnesses. There was what I call a passive sabotage operation. The structure is very simple. CIA Director John McCone, FBI Director Edgar Hoover, and Secret Service Director James Rowley made a deal not to touch Lee Harvey Oswald until he killed Kennedy. After that, Jack Ruby killed Oswald. And after that, somebody poisoned Jack Ruby in jail. Perfect operation, beautiful ending. Third, why was Kennedy murdered in public? President Kennedy was a sick man, taking a lot of pills daily. He also used cocaine, marijuana, and even LSD. For many people in the White House, this was not a secret. There were enough opportunities to stage a death in private, in the White House, in his bedroom. Answer: this had to be a public execution with a very clear message for the next American presidents. Do not touch the CIA, never. And you know what? It works until now. The fourth question: what was the rush? And the answer is Kennedy wanted to eliminate CIA. On June 5, 1968, after winning the California primary election for the Democratic nomination for the US President, Senator Robert Kennedy, John Kennedy's brother, was shot as he walked through the kitchen of the Ambassador Hotel. Sirhan Sirhan, a 24-year-old Palestinian immigrant, was convicted of Kennedy's murder and is serving a life sentence for the crime. The acoustic test proved there were 2 more gunshots, so somebody else, another sniper, was shooting too. The official investigation ignored that fact. They also ignored the fact that Robert Kennedy promised a full investigation of John Kennedy's assassination in case he was elected the US president in 1968. Big lie again. In June 1995, John Kennedy Jr., President Kennedy's son, made a statement. He said that his father's death investigation was the most important thing in his life. Same year, 1995, he met Princess Diana Spencer for an interview for his George magazine. They met at New York Carlyle Hotel, where John Kennedy dated Marilyn Monroe, a holy place for John Kennedy Jr., where he would never have sex with Diana. It was a business meeting. They were talking about big investigation into John Kennedy's assassination. And it was a big mistake, because somebody was listening to them. That's why, in August 31st, 1997, Princess Diana died in a car crash in the Pont de l'Alma road tunnel in Paris, which also caused the death of her boyfriend, Dodi Fayed. A very interesting fact. Billionaire Mohammed Al Fayed, Dodi's father, made a statement that he had information that the deaths of Diana and his son was a CIA and British Secret Intelligence Service joint operation. He even wanted to get the files on Dodi and Diana through the court, but the District of Columbia judge dismissed the case. Why? There was nothing special, the judge said. Besides, we cannot open up the government secret files. Another lie. On July 16, 1999, John Kennedy Jr. died in a plane crash along with his wife, Caroline, and sister-in-law, Lorene. The National Transportation Safety Board lied too. These guys determined that the plane had crashed into the Atlantic Ocean and the probable cause was the pilot's error. The document said Kennedy's failure to maintain control of the airplane was the result of disorientation. It was a lie, because Kennedy, as a pilot, spent more than 300 hours flying all over America. So, what we can do now? We can reopen the investigation, but we have to put all 4 cases together. John Kennedy case, his brother Robert Kennedy case, his son John Kennedy case, and Princess Diana Spencer. You know, that's a regular crime investigation practice. So let's do it. I can start my own investigation if there are people interested in the truth. Go to my website, write me a message. Let's start independent investigation. I'm ready.